your dreams and aspirations when a farm family wants to go direct, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to go out and gain national distribution. You don't have to build a team all across the country. It doesn't have to be that way. That's what Johnny does because that's how Johnny Hunter's wired. Maybe there's a lot to that conversation that we can't even get into today. But there's so much opportunity out there, but you have to, you got to have the want to.
Well, thanks for joining us for another episode of the Agriculture Podcast. Today we got a treat for you. We've got Mr. Johnny Hunter of Castor River Rice. He's the CEO and conservator of the business, and he's going to be here today and talk a little bit about. He's very diverse in his practices. He'll be a lot better at describing his business than I am, so I'm going to let him take it away. Thanks for being with us.
Hey, thanks for having me. And over here in beautiful Western Kentucky, I always love coming to this part of the country, and just got to say you have a fantastic operation here, and so nice. So again, thank you for having me.
Yeah, we appreciate you being here. Today, I think we just want to talk about a little bit about your philosophy in business, how you got. We talk about on this podcast all the time, diversification on the farm, and also aiming all our farms towards the direct-to-consumer model. He's already got this down pat, so talk to us a little bit about that and how you got there at this point.
Yeah, I think down pat is an extreme exaggeration of where we're at today, but we've certainly made a lot of strides. I always love to talk about my family. I love to talk about our operation. I love to talk about, what we're doing and why we do it. I'm probably like you, I'm multi-generational in my family. I'm third-generation farmer. My grandfather, F.S. Hunter, got it all off the ground. My dad, built upon that, ultimately kind of split out from my grandfather because he comes from a large Catholic family, so lots of brothers and sisters. So, Dad had to kind of go get his own thing going, and he did. Was farming about 12,000 acres at one point in time. And this was my father passed in 1992. So farming 12,000 in 1992, that's probably more like 25,000.
Yeah, or even more.
Or even more today. I mean, that was like, right there at the cusp of cell phones. I still remember riding with Dad, and we were stopping at payphones. He was getting all of his messages from an office in New Madrid, Missouri. And so, yeah, our business philosophy is probably very similar to, yours and a lot of the listeners. We're generationally minded. The decisions that we make at Castor River are rarely about the here and now. It's about a generation from now. And are we doing the things today that will give our children, our grandchildren, a better opportunity? So that's really where, you could call it diversification. We call it vertical integration, is what we call it at Castor River. We're integrating vertically. I think when people hear the word diversification, they think about getting into multiple different industries that are completely unrelated so that you can minimize your risk. We feel very differently. Agriculture is the thing that we understand best, and so we want to be all in on ag.
Sure.
But if we can own and operate more of the supply chain, then that ultimately puts us in a better position, both operationally and financially for our family. So that's how we've approached it. And, we sat down, I want to say almost 10 years ago, and we were, just talking as a family and trying to have big picture conversations. And the thing that I saw, because it's me and my mom and my sister, again, Dad passed in 92, but what we saw was in agriculture coming down the pipeline, if you wanted to be successful, I saw, not to say that there's not more ways, but I saw, and I continue to see two paths for success. One is going to be you need to be the low cost producer. Okay, I mean if you want to thrive in a commodity driven world, you're going to have to be the low cost producer. No ifs, ands, or buts. And there's so many guys out there that are so good at that, and they know how to get it down to the penny, and they're farming lots of acres and they get all the big discounts, and they're buying equipment new cheaper than I can buy it used. So they're going to be your low cost producer. The other path that we saw was creating value. How do we create value and decommoditize our operation? And so that's the path we ultimately chose.
And it looks like it's been pretty successful.
It's successful in our eyes, and what I mean by that is it's tough when you start a new project or a new venture like that. Everybody wants it off the ground now. They want cash flow now. They want it to be profitable now. That's myself included. Our CPA, our accountants want to see that. Our bankers want to see that. Everybody wants to see it go now. The problem with that is startups rarely are profitable right off the ground. And so we built the mill and launched the brand in 2018. And so we're a few years into this now, and 2024 we're now developing the level of business to achieve profitability.
Right. Yeah. Any of these direct to consumer type operations take a little while to get people on board with the brand, and brand awareness doesn't happen overnight. So, like as you're building that brand, you have to. A customer has to see your product and then realize your product's of a superior quality, and then once that happens, they become attached to your brand, and then they actually look for it when they're shopping.
Yeah, that's what we focus on a lot. We just developed a new partnership with a group called Our Farms USA. My good friend Robbie, he's really, with his background in consumer marketing, PR, digital marketing, social media marketing, he understands how to communicate that, because I think that's what it comes down to is communication.
Sure.
How are you going to communicate your value? Okay, Johnny, you say you're creating value on your farm. Well, how are you going to communicate that? Well, that's where this group's doing a lot to help us. And it's not as though we haven't been busy, because, since 2018, when we launched a brand, we had zero experience in the food industry. Launching a CPG brand it's a grind. We built a rice mill. We built a packaging line. We underwent numerous new certifications, food safety, global gap. We had to undertake and understand all these new processes. And then we got into food service and started taking care of restaurants, started taking care of universities. And so, yeah, it's been this, and then all the while, we have to continue to talk to our actual customer, which is the mom or dad or kid that's sitting down and enjoying a bowl of rice. So, yeah, it's a lot to it.
Yeah. So before we get way too deep into conversation, explain exactly where you're located and kind of like the communities that are closest to your farm that people would recognize.
Yeah, so we're in southeast Missouri. So where we're at today, like sitting here in your podcast studio, about a 1 hour due west drive. So we're over in the delta of Missouri. Missouri's kind of a funny state. When people think about Missouri, they kind of think more like corn, bean, cattle, because that's what like 90% of the land mass of Missouri is. But down in the southeast corner, you have the delta, and it drops off, and it's an ancient alluvial floodplain. And so our agriculture looks more like, the delta of Arkansas, Mississippi, Louisiana. Our farming practices resemble that a lot more than it does an hour north of us. And so the town we're located in is called Dexter, Missouri. Dexter's not really famous for anything.
Ribs.
Yeah, we've got a lot of ribs. We've got some really good barbecue options in Dexter. But we're, when you look at us on a map, we're, 2.5 hours north of Memphis, 2.5 hours south of St. Louis.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I always, you just come a couple miles here to drop into the Boot Hill, Missouri. We just crossed the river at Cairo, Illinois, and it is such a unique area. If you're a listener from the Midwest, it's hard to picture an area similar to this from your area. It's just it's so different than Kentucky right here where we're farming, and it just overall one of the most unique farming areas I think in the U.S.
I think so too. Fun fact: Missouri agriculture is really mostly man-made in the Delta. So the reason why we're able to farm in the Delta of Missouri where we are at is because of a project called the Little River Drainage District. And so at the turn of the century, they came in, and where they found a swamp, they left tillable farmland. And I'm going to quote this number, and one of your listeners is probably going to do a deep dive and call BS on me. But I've been told that the Little River Drainage District, they moved more tons of earth in that project than they did the original Panama Canal.
I don't doubt it. The levee system is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I for years I hadn't got to see them in a while, but I had a long-term relationship with a Rafferty family, which was
Tom.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Tom.
Yeah, and Mr. Hunter was one of the original, I guess forefathers of that project. Yeah. So it's pretty. It was always neat to hear all the history and the stories they could tell.
Yeah, the Hunter family has been in the Boot Hill of Missouri for many, many, many generations. So we're, we didn't make it. We came out of Scotland and made it to Missouri and said, okay, we're here. That's far enough.
Yeah, that's neat. And to give people some backstory on that area, it has a lot of old generational farms, and they're all so unique and. You can tell you're in farming royalty when you're in that country.
It's special. Some of the land ownership in the Delta goes back to the Louisiana Purchase.
Yeah.
And or in pre-Louisiana Purchase. And so it doesn't get much more ingrained than that. And it's really impressive to me that these families that go back that far, they've been able to hang on to it for this long.
Yeah, I mean, what a success story.
It really is. They say the first generation, makes it, the second generation builds it, and the third generation spins it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a pretty good analogy. It's just hard to keep one of these businesses, across multi-generations viable. And
It is.
Just because some people have so many different talents, and it's hard to, it takes a lot of unique talents to be able to make a farm successful, and it's hard to get generation after generation that are all equally talented and equally diverse in their talents to be able to, continue to make one thrive and go.
Yeah, and there's plenty of families you see today where they tell the kids are like, you're going to go to college, you're going to need to get a degree, you're going to go out and have a career, and after that, then you can come back and do this, because it's just, there's just not enough room on these farms for, another 2 or 3 mouths to feed. I mean, how are you going to pay them?
It was pretty, I had a conversation yesterday with Jesse Little. We were at the restaurant over here, and he said he got an opportunity to go inside of a school the other day, and it was high school students that were in FFA. And he said the room had, I think he said around 30 kids in it. And he said they were all in their latter years of high school getting ready for college. And he said he could tell they were hanging on his every word. So he said, I'm just curious. And he said they were doing Q&A with him, about, he's a seed rep and also a cattle farmer. And they were doing Q&A with him, and he said, well, you've asked me a bunch of questions. Can I ask you a question? And they were like, yeah. He said, how many in this room are planning on being a farmer or grew up on a farm? And he said, not a single one of them raised their hand.
Mm-hmm.
But then he said, how many of you are interested in agriculture and would like to work in the agriculture field? And he said, all but maybe two or three raised their hand.
Yeah.
And he said, it stalled him because he was like, just think, he's like, the number of farms and the number of farmers just get smaller and smaller. Well, because of that, also the amount of talent that's needed to service the farmer, the amount of salesmen and all that is also going to get smaller and smaller because we all have small groups of guys that we work with or women that we're working with, and it doesn't go outside of that group very
Right.
often. And so it's just it's kind of a sad thing, really, when you think about it, how small our industry is getting, and the people that that make it happen every year, the group gets smaller and smaller.
Yeah, and that's an interesting point. To elaborate on that, how I'm beginning to think and what I see coming down the pipe is one of these days we're going to see, and we're seeing it right now, but you have to know where to look. But what you're going to see is this blend, this immersion between farming and food, right? Like, I think so much of our history has been, okay, farming sits over here in a bucket. These are the farmers. They wear the hats, they have the trucks, and they drive big tractors. And then over here you have food. And there's no connection between those two groups. And so, like, on our operation, I'm employing 12 people full time now. I have a rice mill manager. I have, truck drivers. I have office staff. I have salespeople. I have brokers. I have all these people. Well, whether they know it or not, they're all working in agriculture now because they work for me.
Sure.
And so, to me, that's how I'm beginning to think about it. Is we have to begin to think about ourselves as, hey, we're in the food and ag biz. We're not in the farming biz. Farming is an action. Food and ag, that's an industry.
It is. I totally agree. I mean, and I think, and this is what the great thing about our farms is it's as this business comes up, it's going to allow that blend or fusion, if you will.
Yep.
Allow businesses to transition like you have already been able to transition, and it's not going to be an easy process because it's a learning curve, like Johnny was talking about. But once that people get on board with that fusion between food and agriculture, what it's all, or farming and food, and blend the two together, then the sky's the limit for what these farms can achieve.
I think so too. I tell Robbie all the time, I'm like, where was our farms whenever I did this back at 18?
Yeah.
Like, man, we really needed you.
Yeah.
But fortunately, we've made it anyways. But he's only going to make us better. But yeah, no, it's and you're starting to see it now. We do a lot of food shows at Castor River, so we go out and we attend these conventions that revolve around food, mostly in the natural and organic space, because that's kind of the boat we ride in. And so it's not uncommon. When I first started this, we'd go to Expo West, it's out in California, out in Anaheim, and there's 90,000 people there, and I could spend all week and not meet another farmer. And now you're starting to see at least like farm family based companies that are trying to make that move.
Right. Yeah, it's not a transition that's going to happen overnight because a lot of the patriarchs of these operations, I think, never entertained their mind,
Right.
And it's just kind of like the new generations that are now taking over these operations that are kind of looking at ways to vertically integrate, like you're talking about, and make and own a lot more of the supply chain. It's a risk elimination tool.
Yeah, for us, if we can own the land and we can get the products that we're growing off that land all the way to the plate, or get it as close as we can, then that just, to me, it puts so much more opportunity in our corner versus, I grow a product and I pick up the phone and I call a guy with an elevator and I say, hey, what do you give me for this today? Or, what's this rice worth if I, what will you give me for this? Never mind what I've Never mind the risk that I assumed to grow it. Never mind the money that I borrowed to get the thing put into the ground. Never mind the people that I've employed. Never mind all the weather risks that I've navigated and all the pests and problems and, social turmoil. Never mind all that. What will you give me for this product? And that's just a way of life that we just got tired of.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to be able to go to town and say, hey, look, we're Castor River. We're doing this, and this. And, I'm your farmer. You hear people all the time, well, you got to know your farmer. You got to know your farmer. I'm their farmer. And I try to make myself pretty accessible to just the average everyday person as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
And so it's where you see things going.
So we both attended FarmCon, and I'd never actually met Johnny before FarmCon. But like when you're walking through FarmCon, there's a lot of exhibitors there, and Johnny was one of the exhibitors. And his brand is very clean. You see him standing in a green wheat field, very well marketed brand. Rice field. Sorry about that.
It's all right.
You see him in that. I just associate grain with wheat.
I know. We're in wheat country over here.
Yeah, we're in wheat country here in Kentucky. But yeah, rice field, and like so when you look at that brand and you see it, I think you associate it with that clean, wholesome product that you feel safe, feeding your kids that brand.
And I appreciate that. That was the goal. I think the goal of any brand needs to be, what are you going to do and say that shows people the best of who you are. At Castor River, we're doing things different than your average rice farmer. So our operation is utilizing what is now called regenerative agriculture. It's the new word. I'll be 43 in October of this year. So I'm just old enough to remember when we called it conservation agriculture. That was the word. Remember?
Yeah, I do.
Conservation agriculture.
Yeah.
And then they went and changed it to sustainable farming. Now you're going to be a sustainable farmer. And I said, well, okay, we'll be that then. That's the new word. And then now it's, oh, you're a regenerative farmer? I'm like, yeah. I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, don't fall in love with the words. Fall in love with the process.
That's right.
They're just going to change the words in 4 or 5 years. And, it's a new marketing term and it's a new CPG buzzword. And it's going to drive demand and create interest. And it's going to be hashtag this or hashtag that, like it's hashtag regenerative food now or regenerative ag. But the process for us as landowners, we didn't come to regenerative agriculture because we saw an opportunity for a marketing strategy. We went there because we own farmland and we want it to be in as good a shape as it can be for the next generation, period, flat out. That's it. The fact that I'm creating a hell of a lot of value because I'm doing that, and our operations no till, no flood, no burn, no fungicide, no insecticide, utilizing cover crops on every acre. Done a little reintroduction of livestock on the land. Using a lot of animal manure as a nutrient source. You package all that up, and combined with the fact that we're starting to do a lot of stuff. We have been doing stuff, but we're really ramping up our habitat, our focus on just the natural habitat of our farm. And so what emerges out the other side of that tunnel is we no longer have a farm. We have an ecosystem. And, there's going to be a lot of people that start rolling their eyes, but it's true. It's an ecosystem. And once you understand how everything works together, that the birds, the bees, the bugs, the deer, the turkey, the squirrel, the possum, God forbid, the skunk, along with the millions and millions and millions of things living in the soil, man, it's all...
It is. It's all interconnected.
It's all interconnected, and it's all working together. And what I tell people, too, is like, you don't have to understand all of it,
Yeah.
I don't.
Yeah, no.
I don't understand 5% of it. I just believe in it, and I know it's there, and it's working. It's faith.
Yeah. I always think it's, it's amazing to think about. Like when Lewis and Clark came through this area, and they, they landed at the confluence there, which is not far, 3 or 4 miles from this farm. They said they climbed up on the river bluff and saw herds of elk and buffalo so large they couldn't see the ends of them.
Oh man, yeah,
And but you think about all that animal impact that happened out there on the prairie. I mean, there's all these prairie grasses naturally growing out there, and then animals grazing them, and they're actually fertilizing them through God's processes.
yeah.
So it's not, to me, it's not a stretch to think about, hey, we can mimic that, even though we don't have large herds of elk and buffalo ranging in southeast Missouri or western Kentucky. We can mimic that through animal impact and animal fertilizers, and trying to get away from some of the synthetic fertilizer, and and using cover crops is keeping things growing on our land all the time, and allowing the microbiology to flourish.
Yeah, I tell people all the time, look, my number one job as a farmer, and I wear a lot of hats, if you could imagine, but when I have my farmer hat on, my number one job is how do I simultaneously get in and get my work done, yet stay out of the way of nature? How do I do that best? That's the trick.
Yeah,
And it's not a science. It's an art.
I agree.
And so I consider, this is going to create a few raised eyebrows, but I consider myself an artist. And you have to, because science, going out to a regenerative landscape, trying to work with and mimic nature to produce food, is an art. And you can't go out there with a playbook of, we're going to do this on this day, this, then this, then this. Then we're going to spray this. Like that. Mother Nature will take your playbook and she will chew it up and spit it out and laugh in your face. And so there's just a lot of compromise that has to go into that. And people are like, you tell another farmer kind of how you approach it, like, you're out of your damn mind. I can't do that. I can't take that kind of risk. I got to have this, this, and this. We got to have 300 bushel corn. And I believe them. Because they have to be the low-cost producer, and they've got to get in and get their work done, and they've got to move on. And I'm so glad that I made the transition when I did, the transition to regen ag, because I think farmers today, we're under more pressure than we've ever been under.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Everybody's under so much pressure. And commodity, we're under pressure from the commodity market. We're under pressure from our ag input suppliers. We're under pressure from our equipment manufacturers. We're under pressure from, in a sense, our bankers, but they're getting an interest rate passed on to them by the Fed. They can't control. They've got to make their margins. But we're under pressure from our finance system. And we're under pressure from our government. I think if the world knew how much pressure that the average American farmer is under on a daily basis, they would be shocked. Just the mental health of the average farmer is complete trash right now.
Yeah. I was at a NOG convention back during, I don't know, it was around the time of the Commodity Classic. I was in Washington, and they were talking about, there was a speaker about mental health there, and it was staggering, the numbers.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're right. It's bombardment from all sides.
It is.
And that's a big load to carry when you're multi-generational, and you don't want to fail the next generation or the previous generation.
Yeah.
So
it's a very unique way of life. It's a very unique place to be in. I think, not that anybody wants this to happen, but, if the average American dad comes home to his family and says, got bad news, I got laid off today. I'm going to have to go find another job. That's a tough day for that family.
Yeah.
But he's going to go find another job. There's opportunity out there for him to go be in the workforce. When the farmer has to come home and look his family in the eye and say, I got bad news, we're we're not going to be able to continue this way of life anymore. We're not going to be farmers anymore. We've got to sell. That is just a whole nother level of disappointment that somebody has to go through.
Yeah, I think like there's some people that never recover from it.
Oh, well, just look at the suicide rates
Yeah.
for farmers.
Yeah,
It's I know of more than one of those situations from where I'm from,
yeah,
and it breaks your heart.
it does. I mean those. I mean, I mean, just to see the tragedy and the impact it has on the family is heartbreaking.
Yeah, yeah. So it's I think I've always been a big believer in the mindset of you know if it hasn't gone right 9 times in a row for you, chances are number 10 isn't going to be any different. What's the definition of insanity?
Yeah, just keep doing the
Doing
same
the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Yeah. And so it's it's going to take this shift in our food system. Don't call it a farming system; it's a food system. It's going to take a shift, and it's going to take farmers that want to participate in this shift to create real change for the average American farmer.
Yeah. And I do feel like I feel the momentum building to a shift.
Oh yeah,
Because I think in the current, especially in today's, just and things can happen, and we just come out of a bull market or whatever, and but I feel that momentum building. It seems unsustainable at this point in the current system, and I kind of feel that slight momentum building towards a shift in the system, towards a more vertically integrated model, very similar to what you guys are already working on over there in Southeast Missouri.
And I see it out and I always say it like this. I see it out in the world because I draw a really big circle of where I go and do business, and I draw a big circle for who I do business with. When I first started this in 2018, we would go and we would get a meeting with a buyer. So, you would go out, and this was pre-COVID when the world was semi-normal. And so you would go out and you could go get a meeting if you wanted it bad enough. You could go get a meeting with a buyer at a grocery retail chain, and you'd walk in, you'd say, "I'm Johnny Hunter. I'm just Castor River. We own the land, we farm it, we mill it, we bag it." And they'd look at you like you were, something from outer space. With very, very much an outlier in their normal playbook. And today, we just got back from some meetings of about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's a very different conversation. When I sit down with, the people that are making the decisions and I tell them what we do, their reaction is excitement and almost relief that I found them. They're like, "We've been looking for you. We needed a Castor River. We want this kind of food in our grocery retail locations." So that tells me what I need to know, and that means I got to put my foot on the pedal and keep going.
Yeah. Don't you feel like I do? Like when COVID came around and it got everybody unplugged a little bit from their job and like what they were doing day to day. They kind of had a like I don't know what you'd call it, like a recognition of nature that maybe they'd never had before, and then they started really being super health conscious or more health conscious than they had been in the past, and it's given an opportunity to businesses like yours that are health conscious and have an eye towards nature and conservation, for that consumer to really come on board with your brand and that type of mindset.
I couldn't agree more. I think, from sitting from where I sit, I think a lot of people had their kind of belief system challenged in a big way. I think people believed that they would always get up, they would get dressed, they would get in their car, they would go down to the coffee shop, they'd head to work, they'd do their job, they'd come home. And all that went away. And I think it gave people some much needed time to just think. I think people would be shocked to learn how much time that I try to give myself to just sit and think. And sometimes the thoughts are productive, sometimes they're not. But when you just sit and think about, like, what is it we're doing here? Okay, well, let's zoom all the way out. Well, we're sitting on this big blue marble hurling through space at 36,000 miles an hour. Our only real two jobs in this world are to live and to die.
Yeah.
What do we want to do in the time in between? And I think it gave people a fresh perspective on what's important. It's family. It's, if you had a relative or a friend, I think everybody knows somebody that died from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what was it, the 5 degrees of what's that actor?
Yeah, Kevin Bacon.
Kevin Bacon. It's like everybody's within 5 degrees of someone who died from COVID, myself included. I mean, I know a number of people. And I think that put it into perspective especially if you had to watch them die.
Yeah.
Holy shit. Like, okay, maybe the rat race we're all participating in isn't it. Maybe there's something bigger. And I'm not saying that, that led them straight to food, because the food shortages we experienced through COVID, which was due to a broken food supply chain that was heavily dependent on a fragmented system and a lot of imports. But I think when they came out the other side, they're like, hey, we need a more local, trustworthy supply of food for this family. I saw that. I felt that in my own house to the point where, we're not buying much beef at the grocery store anymore. We're going to the guys and the gals that actually raise these animals, and we're buying a whole cow, and it's sitting in our freezer, and then we're going to go buy a whole pig, and then we got the chicken people, we know the egg people. So, I mean, if it's happening in my house, generally, chances are it's happening probably in others.
Yeah, I think that's 100% accurate. Like, we're the same way. Like, I'm going to give a little plug to Elite Beef right here in Ballard County. That's where I buy my, they're just a little small operation, and you can go out there and look at their cows and see it's all clean and very well kept, and the cows are well taken care of, and the product you're getting. And then I just go to a man named Clayton that's just raising his own free-range pigs out there, and
Yeah.
you know the product you're getting. You're not getting garbage with parasites or whatever. You're getting a very quality animal, and
Yeah.
and I think you're right. The average consumer has wised up and is starting to seek out those type of businesses. What a great opportunity for the farm.
It really is. And, it's, you don't have to live within an hour of Los Angeles. You can service a local market. Your neighbors are your market.
Yeah.
Your dreams and aspirations when a farm family wants to go direct, you don't have to do what I'm doing. You don't have to go out and gain national distribution. You don't have to build a team all across the country. It doesn't have to be that way. That's what Johnny does, because that's how Johnny Hunter's wired. And maybe there's a lot to that conversation that we can't even get into today. But, there's so much opportunity out there, but you have to, you got to have the want to. You got to have the want to. What do you want? And if you got the want to, well, I'm telling you, there's a way right now.
That's right. And that's such a great point. Like, this is not going to, any transition in life or in business is not easy. It's challenging. It takes mental, power. It takes willpower, and it takes a level of just stick-to-itness to get it done. So if you want to be on the small scale where you're just distributing in your same county, or if you're on the national scale or world scale, all that takes a level of fortitude, no matter no matter the size you want to be. It's just getting started doing it, and changing your mindset a little bit where you're not just supplying a commodity to a commodity market.
Yeah. No, the key word there that I want to pull out is mindset. Your mindset, I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if you're digging ditches or shoveling coal or sweeping floors. Your mindset in your profession is literally everything. And it's definitely going to be hypercritical if you want to perform a complete transformation of your business and of your personal self.
Yeah, and it like we were talking about, that process doesn't happen overnight. It's a process that is going to take several years, and then just in life, we're always learning. So you learn, and then you apply new concepts, and you try to get a little bit better each day. And over time, you've built an amazing business and new model in the process. People are while we're sitting here talking, people are. I know we got several Midwestern listeners that are like rice. How is rice raised, and how do you even raise rice?
So, yeah, rice is a warm season grass. Agronomically and like fundamentally in the Delta, rice and corn are quite similar in terms of the amount of water it takes to grow them, kind of the philosophy of a herbicide program, start clean, stay clean, type mentality, and the amount of carbon that you're left with after harvest. Rice, there's a lot of carbon there, a lot of straw, and just like a corn crop, just tons and tons per acre. And so for us, historically, rice has always been grown in flooded paddies or flooded fields. And so, you get in and you build, we call them levees. Some people call them dikes. Some people call them whatever. But you go in, the normal operation would build levees, and then at a certain stage in that rice's life, they're going to put the field underwater. They're going to hold about a 3 to 4 inch flood across the field. And so it's important to know that in the Delta, most of our ground is precision leveled. We've gone in, it's been done for, on our farm, it's been done for a generation. My dad was an early adopter of precision leveling and no-till. And so, all these fields are put to grade. And so you dump a cup of water out on one end of the field, it's going to try to run to the other. And so, but on our farm, we don't flood. At Castor River, we just furrow irrigate our rice, and so we cascade water through the field. The big reason why is, because of our commitment to soil health. We do a lot to promote the biological life in our soil, and we consider our soil habitat for billions and millions and trillions of all forms of different soil biology that I couldn't tell you if you threatened to shoot me. I don't know what they are. I know they're important because somebody put them there that's way smarter than me.
Yeah.
So, so we're going to come in with like a no-till drill. We have irrigation furrows every 40 inches. A lot of guys will use like a hipper or better, and they'll bed their ground up. Again, we're no-till, so like we're coming in like when we pull into the field next Monday when we're going to start planting rice. That's nothing more than the old soybean field from last year with a cover crop growing in it. And so, in that field, you're probably going to find a little bit of cereal rye, black oats, hairy vetch, crimson clover, purple top turnip, daikon radish if it survived the winter, which ours kind of didn't. They're hit or miss right now. And yeah, we're going to slip in there and no-till that rice in and open up our water furrows, and then we're going to burn the cover crop down and get a pre-emerge going, and then, fingers crossed that the rice comes up. So we're off to the races after that. Because of what we do and what we've been up to, I mean, we made the transition to Regen Ag I made the mental transition in 2012. I always say it like this. Like I got my mind right in 2012, and then I actually put it to work in 2013. So we're over a decade in of this type of farming, and it was an equally tough transition when, you're learning how to farm in a brand new way that no one was around to teach me back in 2013. There weren't all these groups. There weren't these soil health podcasts. There was nothing. There was a guy named Ray Archuleta who was my soil health mentor, and there was guys like Jay Fuhrer, Gabe Brown, Dave Brandt. They were my mentors, and so they were just princes of men that wanted to see other people succeed. And so that we're going to make rice fit into that system. Harvest the rice, and then right behind the combine, we're no-tilling in another cover crop, and then we walk away. So the amount of, I tell people all the time, like, it's our farming methodology. It's really, there's not a lot to do, and I like that.
Yeah,
because I don't have time. I don't drive a tractor anymore. I don't get to drive the combine. I don't get to drive anything. I'm driving a car, I'm going to the airport, I'm here, I'm there. I mean, I'm out managing daily operations, but I've had to build a team around me that can take the playbook that I give them and run with it.
Right. For the listener, how hard is rice a hard crop to establish a stand in?
Typically, no. I mean, generally, guys are going to go out and just plant it out in the dirt, or just bare ground, and generally it's going to come up. Our system's more challenging. We have to slow the drill down. We have to pay a lot of attention to planting depth, because when you're planting in a fairly heavy mat of residue of living green cover crops, so the cover crop's alive when we plant. So we do have to slow down. We have to pay more attention. We have to spend. We'll burn an entire, just one whole day just doing nothing but just messing with the drill and getting it set. And then, we're going to plant, 35 to 40 pounds of rice per acre, hoping that 80% comes up to a full stand. It's not inherently hard. I mean, you wonder sometimes, because you'll see it lay it down on the parking lot and it starts to grow. And then you go out and plant it in the field, and it, something gets it, or, a cutworm or this thing or that thing. You're like, damn, it's a lot easier out in the parking lot. But anyways, but yeah, it's not overly hard. If it was overly hard, I probably couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's funny, that we'll have a soybean stand that will fail, but then we can spill them out here on the gravel and they come right up just fine.
Exactly. Doesn't that make you mad?
It is. It's a crazy world. Let's see. Is there any other basis we want to cover?
I mean, that's kind of what we're up to. I do think it's fair for people to know. I think your listeners, if they become, interested in going direct to market, that there are, don't be afraid to go get help, because we didn't get a lot of help in the beginning. We just went out and started kind of hacking our way through the jungle, learning as we went, gained really valuable information, but it came at a price.
Yeah.
And, I think, I really think that you have to begin with the end in mind, right? Like, what's the vision here? Is this going to be a hobby for, one of the kids? Is this going to be, are we going to dip our toe into this and see how it goes? I would tell people that the amount of attention and dedication you give really any project, but especially if you want to transform yourself from a commodity producer to a value producer or a value creator, it's going to be, your success is going to be in direct proportion to the amount of energy and time you give that. I do think that it's more than advisable for people to dip a toe in, but don't be disheartened when you have dip a toe results.
Yeah.
But yeah, just I think anytime you're doing anything in business, it's going to take a team, and it definitely takes a team to do what I do. And we're fortunate to have those people.
I would like to ask one more question. Just give the listener a look into, once the rice is harvested, your process of, just exactly the process of getting it to the consumer.
Yeah, so we're going to harvest the rice generally around 18 to 20% moisture. We're going to bring those back to our grain storage facility. We're going to dry that rice down just using air movement. We're not going to put any heat to it. We're wanting to make sure we preserve that kernel quality and have the best milling output, milling yield that we can get. From the bins, it moves over to our Castor River rice mill holding tanks. So we're going to hold it in some hopper bottom tanks outside the rice mill. Our rice mill manager is then going to bring that into the mill and start the process. Goes through a seed cleaner, goes through a husker, which will knock the rice husk off. It'll go through, if you want to make brown rice, then you're just going to run it through a link separator. And then if you're going to make white rice, you're going to polish that rice bran off the kernel, using a stone cylinder. And then from there, it's heading to our packaging line. It goes into a bag. 6 bags makes a case. 96 cases makes a pallet. 24 pallets makes a truck. And from there, that's going to go logistics. Let me pause right there. In this game that I'm playing, logistics is everything. One could argue that the money you make in this, what we're doing, is made or lost at the logistics level. I'm shipping a pallet of rice down to Texas this week. $367 to ship one pallet.
Wow.
Yeah, that sucks. And so we're not shipping that pallet because we're excited to do it. We're shipping that pallet because that's going down into a market in Texas that we're really excited about, and we want to grow it. And so, it goes back to like that startup mentality. Are you willing, do you have the fortitude to take a loss for a year in a market in order to open it up? Can you stomach losing money every week, month, quarter, whatever, however long you have to until you get that thing up and running? Because you're going to have to be. You're going to have to be able to stomach that loss. But from there, that truckload of rice, what we've designed at Castor River is we kind of have a mix because we have our own trucking company. And so that truck's going to run out, and that's either going to hit like warehouses that I have contracted, like our 3PL warehouses, where I call the warehouse and I say, hey, I'm bringing you a truckload of rice. Get ready. And they're like, okay, what day and what time you coming? And so that I load that in the warehouse, and then we LTL out of those warehouses, into other points of distribution. So if we have a food service account, like down in Miami, and so that food service distributor is going to cut me a PO. They're going to say, Johnny, I want 9 pallets of rice on this dock in 2 weeks. Well, if you're stuck in Southeast Missouri, 2 weeks sounds like a long time, but to get it all rounded up, to get it on a truck, and to get from Missouri to Miami, that's pretty good. You actually got about a week because it's going to take the driver a couple days to get there, and it's going to take him a couple days to get home. So having these other warehouses allows me to expedite that distribution. And so, but we will deliver directly to a distributor. And, if a grocery retail distributor, Cahey is one of our bigger partnerships. If Cahey calls and says, we need 3 pallets of, 2-pound white, then depending on the situation, then our truck, hopefully going that direction with other products and other drops can go and make his drops and hit that DC. Then we're trying to get a backhaul home to cover some. We've rarely ever covered the entire cost of us going out. The trucking market right now is it's abysmal for like spot load van rates. You see rates coming out of Florida on the load boards right now running 80 cents a mile going 1,000 miles. It cost me $1.47 to move a truck across the road, which is higher, but we pay our drivers well. I mean, they're all, we're not trying to like play games with our drivers and, pay them only by the miles, their loaded miles. And because then it becomes, you know, these other companies are here to serve the brand and serve the overall effort. So, you know, we can run things a little bit different. But yeah, and then from there, the distributor is going to get it to the grocery store. The distributor is going to get it to the restaurant, and then, bam, make it happen.
So, we're getting close to time here. I just want to say if like we have a listener on here that's wanting to use your product in their restaurant or in their grocery, or they're actually just a consumer, like a buyer at the grocery, how do they get Johnny's product?
They can jump on the website and, you know, they can shoot us a note if they're like a restaurant. They're like, hey, this is the kind of rice that we want to serve our customers. You know, we can figure out where they're at, you know, who their distributor is. Maybe we're already working with them. Maybe maybe we could be. We do a fair amount of direct to consumer sales where, you know, someone living out in Boise, Idaho says, hey, I want your rice, but it's not in any of my stores. And I'll say, well, just order it off the website. And okay, yeah, I'll do that. And so we do a fair amount of that. And then our products are going to be getting loaded up on the Our Farms website, I think, this month. And so, you know, that's going to be another tool for the consumer to have a place to go to find all kinds of great products, not just Castor River. My good friends up in North Dakota, the Spruills, the Three Farm Daughter group that's doing the pasta up there. Yeah. It's the best pasta I've ever had in my life. And they're going to be on that. And so, but they're going through a similar journey. Yeah. As I am.
Yeah. Very cool. And you're going to be hearing a lot more of Johnny. I think he'll probably join us again on here. And coming soon, I think maybe I'll reveal it now. There is going to be a Our Farms podcast, and Johnny and I are going to be. We may co-host some. We're each probably going to do our own shows as well for Our Farm. So be watching for that. You'll get to hear a lot more from Johnny. He's such an interesting fella. We really appreciate you being here today.
Hey, thanks for having me. I had a ball.
Yeah, me too. So thanks for listening today on the Agriculture Podcast. And if you would, Johnny, give your phone number out there. So if somebody needs to get a hold of you for some rice or some distribution of rice.
How about I give them my email address?
Okay.
'Cause getting me on the phones is sometimes challenging, but it's our website's CastorRiverFarms.com. There's an info email at the bottom of that page that, you know, if you're looking for Johnny, that it makes it to me. But I'm Jay Hunter at CastorRiverFarms.com, and you know, I talk to hundreds of people, if not thousands of people a year, about all sorts of things. So, you know, love to meet people, love to talk, love to hear their stories, and love to sell rice.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for your time today.
Thank you,
and thanks for listening to the Agriculture Podcast. Like, share, and subscribe.